ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानम् येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषाम् आदित्यवत् ज्ञानम् प्रकाशयति तत्परम्.
The boy you just watched and would again watch at the end is from a country called Thailand, where Lord Ram is very highly loved and revered, and where the kings of Thailand still have the titles of Rama. People who really love and respect Sri Ram will naturally have the values of the kind that this boy has. So, let's begin this lesson with the story of Sri Ram. You must have heard of the two persons you are just watching on the screen. One of them, Sri Ram, is known to be an icon of ethics and moral values. The other one, Ravana, in spite of being a very learned person, is known to have been the opposite kind, an immoral character. He is the one who forcibly took away the wife of Sri Rama when she was alone in her cottage in a forest because he wanted to marry her. Amazing. Ravana was already married and Sitaji was also a married woman. And yet he abducted her because she was an incredibly beautiful woman. Such an act is counted among the most immoral acts, for simply taking away somebody else's wife to marry her. This immorality became the cause of Ravana's fall and death. Human beings are vastly different from all other living beings. What is it in them that makes them so different and unique? It's often said that it is the variety and depth of human emotions and the faculty of reasoning that distinguish them from all other living beings. This is no doubt true, but what makes them even more fundamentally different from birds, insects, and animals is their moral sense, which gives them the ability to pass moral judgments. Moral sense and moral judgment mean the capacity to tell good from bad, virtue from vice, and right from wrong. Animals don't have a moral sense, and they cannot pass moral judgments as to what is morally right and what is morally wrong. Those who lack moral sense completely, in spite of being humans, are called demons. And this is why Ravana, in spite of being the grandson of the great sage Pulastya, is considered a demon or Rakshasa or Asura. Chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita is dedicated to describing the differences between the characteristics of such asuras or demons and the divine qualities of the people with a great moral sense. The Bhagavad Gita says that those who have the high moral qualities go to heaven, and those practicing immorality go to hell or are reborn as very lowly creatures such as insects, birds, or animals. Let us try to understand what moral sense and moral judgment are through a day-to-day example. John steals money from his friend Albert's pocket. His friend Sheila sees this and says, "You have not done a good thing. You should not have done it. Stealing is immoral, not right. Please return the money to Albert." "You should not have done this" is a moral judgment. Animals are incapable of thinking in this way, and distinguishing between morally right and wrong, good and evil, and virtue and vice. Without such a moral judgment, without such a moral sense, no civilization can ever survive or progress. Morality and ethics is, therefore, doing morally right things and avoiding doing things that are evil or morally wrong. Ravana did not do a morally right thing when he abducted Sita ji. He should not have done it. The word ethics is often used in place of morality. But sometimes the word ethics is also used for indicating the discipline which studies what is morally good and bad, morally right and wrong. In this sense, ethics means the philosophy of morality or moral philosophy, sometimes also loosely called moral science. There are various words that are often used in the context of morality and moral philosophy, and it may be important to know and understand a few of them. An important term related to ethics is moral values or human values, in short called values. Values are norms or ideals towards which humans are expected to move and follow them in their behavior. A few examples of human values are justice, honesty, friendship, loyalty, empathy, helpfulness, love, kindness and compassion, dutifulness and truthfulness. A good way to find these and more moral values at one place, apart from chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita, is chapter 12 from verse 13 to 19. In the very first line of verse 13 of chapter 12 is mentioned one of the highest of moral values, being friendly and compassionate to all creatures, and not only to the human beings. These and other values are extremely important for the humans, because without moral values, there cannot be a worthy human civilization, which is why they are called values. They add great value to the human existence. Without moral values, the human existence will lose its meaning and the civilization would collapse. Now the question is, what is the relationship of moral values with ethics and morality? The answer is, morality means following the moral values and avoiding the behaviors opposed to them. For instance, if you agree that truthfulness is a moral value, it would mean that you should not lie. If you agree that honesty is a moral value, then it would mean that you should not be dishonest, and that when you grow up and hold some private or public office in future, you would refuse to accept bribes. You may say at this stage that people do lie, people do steal, and people do accept bribes. The human civilization might collapse. It has not collapsed. So why did we say that in the absence of moral values, the human civilization might collapse? The question is not difficult to answer. You will discover that in day-to-day life, most moral values are predominantly being quietly and often unknowingly followed by most humans, and the behavior opposed to moral values is comparatively much lower in spread and frequency. For example, take theft. How many times did a theft take place in your house or your school in a year? If everyone stole everything every day, everywhere, every day, everywhere there were burglaries, robberies, bomb blasts and murders, it would become exceedingly difficult to survive. But this does not happen in any society. Human civilizations are surviving because there is always a preponderance of good over evil in the worst of societies. It is only very rarely that evils become predominant. And then you would all agree that if there was no lying, no thefts, no burglaries, no bribery, no rapes and murders, no bomb blasts, no terror attacks, the human civilization would be much better. And I trust all of you would agree that we must all try to move in that direction of a morally more sound civilization. Values do not exist in the external world like chairs and tables do. They exist in the human mind in the form of ideas and feelings tied to each other. For example, kindness is a human value. Now, if you know the meaning of kindness, kindness exists in your mind as an idea. But if you do not also experience the feeling of kindness in your heart, it will remain only an idea in your mind and will not translate into a value or a human value in you. With an idea in mind and a feeling in heart, action will automatically arise. So, a moral value is a pair of a positive normative idea and a corresponding emotion that together result in an appropriate action or actions. This is a professor of philosophy. He knows about all the human values very well. For example, he knows the meaning of kindness and compassion. And he knows about every aspect of kindness and compassion. But he does not experience the feeling of compassion in his heart. He does not help anybody, does not
เขาจะ
donate
ได้อะไร
for
ถ้าเขา
charity,
ทำแบบนี้ทุกวัน
and does nothing that would indicate that he has the feeling of compassion in him. If some poor fellow approaches him for some help, he rudely pushes him back and refuses to help. Therefore, even though he has an idea of compassion in his mind, he does not have the human value of compassion in him. Children, here is a simple and ordinary boy who would seem to be quite extraordinary. The human values flow from his head to heart to his hands quite naturally
ไม่ได้รวยเกิน
in day-to-day life. He thinks, he feels, and he acts adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha. And that
ไม่
also
ได้มีชื่อเสียง
explains
ที่มากขึ้น
why he is able to easily find inner comfort, contentment, and happiness in his plain and simple life. Isn't he worth emulating? Harisharanam, surrender to God.